Hey, and welcome to Gotcha, map 20 of Doom 2. Now, as you can see here, we can make infighting happen right at the start here, because that imp will pretty much always fire a fireball at the back of that shotgunner. Now, this is the beta version of this map, but given that there isn't really that much difference between this and the retail version, I figured we'd play through this one. There's one of the changes, a mancubus in the blood, which is pretty interesting. That isn't there in the final version of this level. Also, there's a chain gunner up there, and in this room you actually get a super shotgun, not the normal shotgun here. So they've actually made this version of the level a bit difficult compared to the retail version, because obviously the super shotgun is the preferred weapon. There's actually no chain gunner here as well, so as you can see, the enemy placements at this point were very different. This room also looks incredibly different. This is using the marble texture from Doom 1, but obviously we know that it's more of a brown texture when we get to the final version here. So I want you to sort of choose who you think is going to win this encounter, the Cyber Demon or the Spider Mastermind. We're just going to grab all these goodies while they're busy fighting with each other. We will inevitably hear which one survives, so I'm going to head out here and head inside here. So this is here in the final version, but there's actually a Hell Knight in here as well. So that's another enemy that's been taken out of this at this point. My guess is that some of these Doom 2 monsters probably weren't ready when this level was designed. I get the feeling this level was designed a lot earlier than some of the other levels we've played so far, as there really aren't that many Doom 2 monsters sort of floating around. So there's a Pain Elemental that's missing, there's an Archvile that's missing, the Hell Knight's missing, and a few Chain Gunners as well, and that kind of leads me to the suspicion that this was developed early. So for example there, that Cacodemon that we just landed on top of, that's actually a Pain Elemental in the final retail release. So the reason I shot my chain gun through that teleporter there is because that's actually in this version how you open the BFG room, which we'll be seeing in a bit. So if you actually play Ultraviolence on this level with the retail version, you'll actually see an Archvile up here as well as the Baron there. So it's kind of clear to me that not all the Doom 2 monsters were probably available, because even though this is a big level, it kind of feels a bit like this was an early developed level and a lot of the changes came closer to release. So if you run all the way over here, up these stairs, we will enter a building off to the side. This is one of the things I like about this level. There's a lot of choice in how you approach it. You can ignore all these rooms and just bullet for the exit if you really want. The level isn't that long in that case. But as you can see, there's a lot of worthwhile secrets in this level. I do believe there's an Archvile in the final Ultraviolence setting as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of enemies that have been kind of moved around. That's a Pain Elemental in the retail version of Doom 2. Alright, I forgot about that. So if you really don't want to do this level and you really don't want to deal with everything in it, you can actually run around to this area and skip like 70% of the level. I'll actually show that at the end of this because I think it's a very interesting skip, and it's one that I make good use of when I'm sort of doing playthroughs of this. So there's also a Mega Charge there that gives you 200% health and 200% armor if you're... Oh look, the Cyber Demon won. So I do want to get rid of him. But there's quite a few things that are not as they should be in terms of item and enemy placement, and I'll be showing that when I get to the Game Boy Advance version in a little bit, because that's pretty faithful to the PC release. But interestingly, there is not a PS1 version of this level. I'm going to hazard a guess that the big rooms and the large amount of enemies in this level kind of made it impossible to port it. So we want the rockets here. As I said, this level's fairly iconic. The Cyber Demon and Spider Mastermind showdown are pretty legendary. Like that was the first time that those two enemies have been put on the same level together. So for a lot of players, I can imagine it was like a holy heck moment. And it was for me as a kid. Because, you know, you didn't really see those two enemies kind of facing off against each other. I wanted to grab that med pack just in case we run into a bit of trouble in the back end of the level here. But this level's very open. There's a lot of exploration in this one, and I kind of dig it for that. Like, it's not the prettiest level, and it's certainly not the easiest level to kind of love, but for me, I just kind of admire the scale of it. This is one of those few Doom 2 levels which kind of rewards you for exploring. So I'm not a fan of this room though. I've always felt this room's a bit unfair, because you can see there's a bunch of hit scanners down here who are just waiting for us to sort of come down. Also not a fan of this. So you've got to let this wall drop before you can run over here, and it's kind of a bit of a time killer, and it can also kill you. So as soon as we head up here, this wall's going to drop down. So you can see there's a bunch of Caco demons there. I think there's a Pain Elemental in the retail release of Doom 2. So this part has always frustrated me. It's very easy to die here if you're not careful. So if you accidentally let that get too high, you can actually get crushed by the roof there. So this room can turn a bit nasty if you're not careful. That's why I'm not running out into the open here. I do like this room. I think this room's got a very nice, it's like kind of final area of Earth feel to it. Like you've built up to this area here. It's a shame that there isn't really something more substantial blocking your way here, because that'd be pretty nice if you had to fight to get to the exit up there. But in the retail release, there's actually some bony boys behind these chain gunners as well. So this room gets pretty hectic. But honestly, the beta version of Gotcha here is really not that different. In terms of layout, everything's pretty much here. There's just a few things that aren't marked as secrets, which would eventually become secrets. And there's a few enemy placements that change, which make the level harder in my opinion. But if you want to skip most of this level, and this is the way that I normally play this level, I don't normally go into the deeps with the Cyber Demon and the Spider Mastermind. You just run off this ledge here, and it's entirely possible to just skip like a good 70% of the level. Obviously you want to grab a shotgun of some kind before you kind of make your way over here. But I'm just showing you like how easy it is to kind of get deep into this level, and you can completely avoid everything that was, you know, problematic. Well, except for those chain gunners, but you know what I mean. So now we're going to dive into the Game Boy Advanced version of this level, and I apologize immediately for the muddy textures. Like this, the Game Boy Advance version of Doom 2 is not pretty on bigger screens, and to be fair, it wasn't designed for big HD screens like this. So you can see there's a super shotgun there, and there's the chain gunner we were talking about. I'm gonna guess that they kind of decided to make this level a bit more difficult by throwing in more chain gunners and arch vials and such, because the original level that we just played, the beta level, it isn't that difficult, to be honest. Apart from this room, I'd argue. But here's where a limitation of the Game Boy Advance version of this game really comes back to hurt the player. So I'm going to try killing that guy up there. There we go. So you can see we've brought down the Cyber Demon, and we've awoken the Spider Mastermind. Now, part of the fun of this is that if you pistol start, you should be able to get them to infight, but in this version of the game, it's actually pretty difficult to make them infight. Part of the reason for that is because when you walk a distance away from an enemy, like the Cyber Demon over there, it actually becomes inactive in this version. So you can see here the Spider Mastermind is still walking, but the Cyber Demon is not. And the problem is that this room is large enough that you can't actually kind of get them to infight easily. You have to walk up behind them and die a few times. You know, it's a real pain. So there's the Hell Knight that wasn't in the beta. It's kind of remarkable that this level makes it in pretty much complete, but yet they didn't attempt to bring it to the PS1 version of this game. Now the real question you'll probably be asking yourself is, was it even worth bringing this level over? Because the performance is all over the place, especially when you kind of walk out into the big open areas. But again, this was I think this was 2002 on the Game Boy Advance, so very technically skilled to even get this running on Game Boy Advance hardware. We're gonna go into this secret here. So I think we've just killed the pain elemental that was there. Yeah, so like I said, the Game Boy Advance version of Doom 2 kind of treats enemies a bit differently. Like, they don't automatically sort of come chasing after you unless you're kind of within their vicinity. Otherwise, a lot of enemies, like that Kako Demon up there, which you can see in the distance, it just doesn't bother with us. So there's the Archvile that we were discussing. This was not in the beta version. And yes, green blood for everyone in this version. It also needs to be said that the controls are not the best for the Game Boy Advance version of this game. The reliance on the D-pad and the shoulder buttons to strafe kind of ends up leading to a SNES kind of playing situation where there's a bit of input lag. At least that's my experience. It's not the most comfortable version of Doom to play, I'd argue. Okay. Oh, okay. Have I broken this? Okay, I've not. Good. You can also see in the distance how when the textures are not like super close to you, they just become very muddy and kind of blend into one another. It's one of the reasons that people call this the ugly Doom port. I thought I'd activated that BFG switch there. Obviously I haven't. Or maybe they've changed it. I don't normally come here when I'm playing Doom 2, so like I'm actually not sure if that's changed or not. Oh look, an Archvile. Okay, we don't want to gain out because it'll wake everything back up in that room. I was expecting another Archvile there. Interesting. Just see if there's a way to trigger that in here, I guess. So in the beta version I just had to shoot through here and that was enough to activate it. I'll go and have a look here, but I doubt that it's going to actually do anything. Yeah, it's not done anything. That's so weird. I'm sure someone in the comments is going to mention how you get that BFG door open. Like I said, I never usually come out here, but I am aware that it's here. That's one of the reasons why I'm showing it off. Ugh. Game Boy Advance controls, please. What's also kind of funny is that you can see that pain elemental there, just like completely lit up because its starting position is just in the light there. But yes, this is a very faithful recreation of what you'd play on the PC version. For better or worse. Ooh, hello. So we are going to dive into this secret here. It's very much worth our time. And there you can see we got the Megasphere. So that wasn't in the beta version of this level. It is in the PC version. So this bewilders me. Did they change it or something? Ah well, it's not really worth it. It's not really worth going checking it again. But functionally, this level just operates as the PC version does, and you know, I think that's pretty cool. This is a very large level, so I can imagine that it's very intense on the Game Boy Advance, trying to even get this working. So that we don't have a BFG this time, so I'm going to have to rely on the plasma rifle here. So you can see the Pain Elemental at the back there. We took it out while we were taking out the Caco Demons. Okay, so how? Okay, so you can sort of trick this to go back up if you walk over that like ledge there. Ah, maybe they've taken it out of this version. Who knows? But there is a secret over here, which I'll go into in a second. Not sure if that's just broken or if they actually did change that. It's very hard to tell with that one. But this end room is pretty much the same. In fact, it has the two Bony Boys at the back. In the Game Boy Advance version, the Bony Boys are ruthless. Like they do a lot more damage than they do in the other versions. I don't know if it's been coded that way or if like the developers just kind of thought, oh, it doesn't really matter. But if the Bony Boys rockets do smack you in the face, it is a problem in this version. But that was gotcha on the Game Boy Advance. I mean, as much as I was willing to play through. So what do you think of gotcha? Is it one of your favourite Doom 2 levels? Do you think it's overrated? Or do you just not like it at all? Do let me know in the comments, and thank you very much for watching the video.